In this video, we will learn how to draw event tree for chemical release. We will include both liquid and gas release. So let's begin. So in the event tree diagram preparation, we will be having four different situations here for the chemical release. So they are initiating event, loss of containment, release type, and outcome. So for the case of the chemical release, so there is a loss of control event that must have happened, right? And the loss of control may be multiple different reasons. So when there is a loss of control, this loss of containment type can be different, right? It can vary. So let's think what are the possible loss of containment scenarios. So it can be physical explosion, physical explosion, then it can be Blivy or fireball. Then there can be a situation that there is no release or no impact, right? Then there is a chance that there is a chemical release, right? Now, in case of the physical explosion, mm, there is no particular release type, and outcome will be same. It will be physical explosion only, right? Same for the case of the Blivy and firewall. It will directly end up in Blivy or fireball. Now, if you want to know what Blivy is, there is a different video. You can just watch that. No release, no impact. Okay, it will no impact in the outcome. It will directly go here. In case of the chemical release, now see, there can be two situations here. One can be gas release and another can be liquid release. And they have different uh, different outcome, right? So there is a gas release outcome and there is a liquid release outcome. Now we will be seeing both of these things in the coming slides. Okay, let's now draw the gas release event tree diagram. Now, so release type is we have decided that release type is gas release. Now, ignition can be immediate or it may take some time. So let's consider the ignition to be immediate first. Then if it is vapor cloud forms, this is not applicable, right, in this case, because whenever the gas is released, it immediately gets ignition. So vapor cloud forms, this particular thing is uh, not applicable. Liquid rain out and ignition, this is also not applicable. Explosion occurs, that is also not applicable. Toxic chemical also not applicable. So it directly goes into the outcome, and the outcome is jet fire. So there is a release in the high pressure and immediately it catches fire. That creates a jets of fire. Now it will not be most of the case, so gas release immediate ignition does not happen. Okay. Then if immediate ignition does not happen, the released gas may form the vapor cloud. So if vapor cloud is formed, there is no question of liquid rain out or ignition at this moment. Explosion occur may happen, right? So will go into this phase, and there will be two different situation here. So if we go uh, here, after vapor cloud formation, it may ignite or may not ignite, or it may cause explosion or may not cause explosion. If it is explosion occurs, then it is a vapor cloud explosion, or VCE, vapor cloud explosion, right? And if there is no explosion but ignition happens, right, then it is our flash fire. Now the second situation where the vapor cloud is not formed, right? Vapor cloud is not formed. In that case, liquid rain out and ignition. This may happen or may not happen. Consider this is happening. Liquid rain out means the vapor cloud is the gas is released in form of condensate here, or it gets condensed and it makes liquid, and the liquid gets carried to a place of lower elevation. It can be dike or any other place where the liquid gets content, and if that catches fire, then it results in pool fire. Now if liquid rain out and the ignition does not happen, but so there is no chance of explosion here because the ignition has not happened. In that case, if it is a release of toxic chemical, then it will result in toxic exposure, and if it is no, then there is no consequence here. No consequence here, right? So this is in a nutshell what is your gas release inventory diagram. It may result in jet fire, it may result in vapor cloud explosion, it may result in flash fire, it may result in pool fire or toxic exposure. So this jet fire, vapor cloud explosion, flash flare and pool fire, all these things are again explained in greater detail in separate videos. You please watch that videos so that you can have a good idea about them. Now, next, what will happen in case of the liquid liquid release, right? So release type is, again, if it is a liquid release, it is a liquid release, and there is a chance with the liquid release also the vapor cloud can form. So if it is vapor cloud forms and then ignition occurs, right? And then if explosion also occurs, in that case it will directly go to the outcome, and the outcome is vapor cloud explosion, right? And if it is no, right, if there is no explosion but ignition occurs, then it is flash fire. Okay, now if ignition vapor cloud forms but ignition does not occur, explosion also does not occur, and then it is a toxic material, then it is a toxic exposure, right? It is toxic exposure. So even though there is no ignition, but if the gas is something like chlorine or hydrogen sulfide, then there is a chances of toxic exposure. Now if it is not toxic, not ignited, in that case what will happen is it may again go through two different phases, and and that and if it is not a toxic chemical, but if it gets stored, right, then it will result in, if it gets stored and catches fire, then it will result in pool fire. And if still it is no, then it may result in environmental effects, right? And if the vapor cloud does not form, right, in that case, this kind of situation will not happen. But the final stage, it may catch fire or it may not catch fire. Depending on the two situation, it may cause pool fire. So again, here it may cause pool fire, and here there is environmental effect. So in case of the liquid release, there if it does not catches fire but just spread into atmosphere, it is mostly environmental effect. If in the liquid form it gets contained in some dike or some low elevation areas and then catches fire, it will create the pool fire mostly. And if the material is toxic, then there is a chance of toxic exposure. And liquid release, it can cause flash fire if the releases with vapor cloud, but there is no explosion. But if it creates vapor cloud and then explosion occurs, it is vapor cloud explosion. So maximum impact you can see in this case is in the form of the vapor cloud explosion. On the other hand, if you see for the case of the gas release, the maximum outcome can be in the form of either vapor cloud explosion or BLEVE. So hope you have understood what are the different uh, cases that may occur with the inventory diagram for a chemical substance release in the form of gas or liquid.